Hello and welcome to my MCC 15 teams analysis video. Today I will try to analyze and rank the new teams for Minecraft Championship episode 15. We got these teams later than usual and with only a few days to go until the actual event. Furthermore, let me start by saying that I am slightly disappointed with the teams this time around. I'm not complaining against a single team in this event, I just think that the entire lineup of teams just feels off, as though they aren't as balanced as they could have been. There also isn't much fan service this time around, with many returning players missing from this event for different reasons. In fact, once again it has been hard to rank these teams, but this time it's not because they are so balanced, rather because the teams feel so unbalanced that it's hard to predict anything. Although statistically these teams do make sense to some extent, this time rather than going through and trying to rank all the teams, I'll just be going through each team one at a time and sharing my thoughts about each one. Unlike my MCC 14 team analysis video, I won't be using statistics, since I've learned that past performance is never a good indicator of future performance, but I will refer to previous trends in a player's individual placements. Once again, I'm not complaining, but I just think that the teams could have been better this time around. No hate towards any particular team or player, and despite my small criticism, I still think this MCC has the potential to be one of the most engaging and fun events yet. Also, only a small percentage of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. There's no obligation as always, but hey, it randomly popped into my mind and it would make my day, so please consider it. So yeah, as I said before, I'm gonna just go through each of the teams rather than trying to rank them, because that would just be an impossible task at this point with all of the pretty decent balancing that the event organizer S Major has done. So the first team we have here is the Red Rabbits. This team consists of Dream, Michael McChill, Quackity, and Sapnap. So my first thoughts on this team when it was first announced was that this was going to be an all Dream SMP team. This is the first time that Dream and Sapnap are teaming together without George being on the same team. It kind of closes the loop because Dream and George have teamed before, and George and Sapnap have teamed before, and all three members of the Dream team have teamed before. So this kind of closes the loop with Dream and Sapnap teaming. We know that Dream had a pretty tough MCC last time, however I still think he is capable of top 10 and regaining that spot as an S tier player for many people. And Sapnap is a consistent top 5 player. His last 3 events he finished 3rd, 4th and 3rd individually, which is absolutely insane. Definitely a solid A tier player. Quackity finished last place in the MCC 14, and while this was a letdown, I think Quackity has the potential to do pretty well this time. And Michael McChill is a below average player, but just like Quackity, could do really well. This is the 3rd time that Dream and Michael McChill are teaming together, and when they are together they seem to do alright. So statistically this team averages around the middle depending on how you collect data. As I've said, Dream and Sapnap are really strong players, whereas Michael and Quackity are below average but not necessarily bad as per se. But yeah, in terms of chemistry and communication, this team is on point with that. So the next team to be announced will be Orange Ocelots. This team consists of Carlson Moon, Grian, Pizza Hut and Shovel. As we all know, Pizza Hut is statistically the strongest MCC player of all time, and no doubt he's gonna pop off again. It's almost guaranteed that he will finish top 5, and this is the 3rd time that Pete and Grian have teamed together. Pearl and Grian are both in the Hermitcraft SMP and have played several times before, and Shovel is a decent player as well. Overall, as many people will have guessed, this team will dominate Hole in the Wall, but who knows, maybe this time it won't be picked. This team would also be decent at team games like Build Mod, maybe Sands of Time. Don't underestimate this team because Pete can always boot camp the other 3 players into Dodgebolt, and I highly doubt that they will finish as low as the statistics may say. Alright, the next team is the Yellow Yaks. This team consists of Captain Sparkles, Puns, Jack Manifold and CPK. And wow, this team is actually pretty solid. Puns really popped off last event. He went from finishing 13th to 11th to 2nd individually. While this could be treated as an anomaly, I still think he is a capable top 15 player, definitely at least A tier. Puns and CPK teamed for the last event and they did really well together. And CPK is a consistent grinder who's been aiming for that top 10 spot for forever now. And yeah, he usually averages around top 20 if not top 15. Captain Sparkles is also a decent player, top 20, definitely capable of top 10 this time. And Jack Manifold is only returning for his 2nd MCC, however for his debut in MCC 14 he did pretty good, dominated to get to the other side. And while I still think that Jack will finish below average, this team could easily make Dodgebolt, breaking the captain's curse and potentially securing the win. Alright, next up we have the Llamas. This team consists of Ollie the Orient Sound, Mr. Solidarity Gaming, Cara Corvus, and Fruitberries. At this point, we're just gonna assume that Fruitberries will always be on the Lime team. I think this is the 5th time he's been on the Lime team. But it was this team where I really thought, I'm sort of skeptical, because it's essentially putting an S tier player, Fruit, with 3 below average players. Cara Corvus finished 37th last event and is definitely a below average player. Solidarity Gaming does pretty well actually. He's definitely underestimated and overlooked within the MCC community, usually finishing around the middle. And the Orion Sound, while he is statistically one of the weaker players in this event, he did do pretty well in MCC 14 considering his average, finishing 23rd, whereas usually he'd finish around the bottom 10 individually. So while this team has a decent shot of making dodgeball with Fruit doing his unexpected carry, which I don't think will happen this time because all 4 players are capable of doing pretty well, I still think that Lime might underperform. I think this is the kind of team that people will either overestimate or underestimate, and I'm sort of in the middle there. I think they have a pretty decent shot at dodgeball, but then again they could easily finish in last place if they have a terrible game order. And the next team is the Green Guardians. This team consists of Connor Eats Pants, Fundy, Filza, and TommyNet. This is the other team where its 4 players are all Dream SMP members. Fundy, Filza, and TommyNet are consistent top 15 players. Fundy and Phil have already played in their last 2 events together, and both times the team finished 6th place. This time we have Tommy, who finished 9th in MCC 14, and to slightly balance things out, they are teamed with Connor Eats Pants, who last played in MCC 11 and was one of the worst players in that event. However, he was on a team that was statistically way below the other teams. While I still think that Connor may perform below average and secure a place in the bottom 10, Fundy, Phil, and Tommy could easily make up for Connor's coins, so I think they may secure a place somewhere around the middle, 5th or 6th at best, maybe at worst 9th, but it all depends once again on whether or not Tommy is striving for content or to actually try hard. Right, the next team is the Cyan Creepers. This team consists of event organizer S Major, Wisp, Antfrost, and 5UP. Now, no surprises here, but many people think that this team will secure last place. And I can see why. There are 2 new players in the team. Antfrost, who is Dream's 4th Minecraft Manhunt Hunter, and 5UP, who usually plays Among Us with S Major. S Major and Wisp teamed in MCC 14 and they won it, and S Major finished 8th and Wisp came 12th, so they're both decent top 15 players. I still think that Wisp may not do as well this time, but perhaps secure top 20. S Major, I think, will be the strongest player on this team this time around, perhaps securing top 10, worst case scenario top 15. The reason why most people are putting this team towards the bottom in their predictions is because of the 2 new players. You can't really tell how they're going to perform, even if they look competent at the game. Like Antfrost, he looks alright in Dream's Manhunt videos, and he seems decent at the game, but in MCC, anything can happen. We've seen some great performances from debut players. However, Antfrost, I'm suspecting, may finish around 25th, and 5UP maybe bottom 10. But once again, it all depends. Maybe Antfrost and 5UP are going to be the new Dream and Techno duo and absolutely dominate the event. But erring on the side of caution, I think this team may be the team to finish in that dreaded last place spot. Right, next up we have a team with a lot of fan service in it. We have Krinios, Kratzy, Captain Puffy, and Niachu. It's basically the double duo of Krinios and Kratzy, as well as Captain Puffy and Niachu. Puffy and Niachu, good friends in the Dream SMP. Krinios and Kratzy having played several times before in Season 1. Kratzy finished 5th in MCC 14, and Krinios, I know, is a solid top 15 player, but I doubt that they'll make it to Dodgeball because Captain Puffy isn't doing so well anymore, and Niachu is still statistically one of the weakest MCC players of all time, even though she did break her trend of finishing last place with securing 33rd in MCC 14 rather than 40th. So I think this team has a decent shot. They might do okay at PvP, but it's like the Red Rabbits. You have 2 solid players and then you have 2 slightly weaker players. The next team is the Blue Bats. This team consists of F-Whip, Quig, Smallish Beans, and PrestonPlayz. The team has a really decent shot of winning the entire event. Quig, as we know, is an S tier, consistently top 10 player, if not top 5, when he really pops off. This reminds me of the Aqua Axolotls in MCC 8, who finished first, and it was this team, except instead of Preston, they had H-Bomb, and all 4 players in that team finished top 15 that time. And no doubt F-Whip and Smallish Beans, despite not playing in a canon MCC for Season 2, will do alright. F-Whip has been absent from MCC for a long while, but that's of course because of the break that MCC had, and he has missed a couple of events. I have high hopes for Preston. I think he could do really well. Quig and Preston have a lot of chemistry together. They know each other quite well. And honestly, this team could have it in the bag. Dodgeball, as long as they focus on some of the team games like Sands of Time and Build Mod, if they're going to be picked this time around. Next we have the Purple Pandas, Rendog, Martin in the Littlewood, False Symmetry, and Illumina. Now this is another team where I feel sort of skeptical about. Rendog and False Symmetry are both Hermitcraft members who didn't do too well last MCC, and I know that's because False had some glitch with her world loading, but they secured 38th and 39th respectively, and ultimately their team came last. So Illumina, who is projected to be the next S tier player, is tasked with carrying, if you will, Rendog and False to Dodgebolt. Also on the team is Martin, who is actually a pretty good player, usually finishing around 15th to 20th, and both Illumina and Martin finished top 10 in the Pride Month MCC, but a lot of people are putting this team 8th because of Rendog and False. However, I think people are actually underestimating their potential because False usually does quite well, and I think Illumina might secure top 5 as he did in MCC 13, but this is again a team where I doubt they will make Dodgebolt at all. They can get extremely lucky. Right, finally we have a team with arguably the highest level of fan service, the Pink Parrots. This team consisting of Tapel, Wilbasut, Tubbo, and the guy who everybody seems to be crazy about and I just can't figure out why, Ranboo. I think a lot of people are going to like this team. Tapel is a consistent top 10 player. He had a rough MCC just like Dream. However, he finished first individually in the Pride Month MCC, so with a bit of practice, he could easily secure that treasured top 10 spot. Wilbasut has had a couple of scuffed MCCs, which has affected his statistics. However, he is a decent support player. Tubbo finished 10th last MCC. However, I think he's more of a top 15 player. And Ranboo is the 4th new player this event. And while I think he has a good chance of doing pretty well for his debut, perhaps being the strongest of the 4 new players, I think he can secure 20th to 25th, which could put this team at a really good shot of making Dodgeball. However, this is another team just like the Green Guardians who would strive for content. So to conclude, looking through the teams, they all look really great even though they feel a little underwhelming. But let me know what you think. Perhaps it's just me being irrational as I always am. I think I'm getting that satisfactory feeling towards the teams because there are 4 new players and so many players from Season 1 who haven't played in a while, as well as the absence of many regular players. Regardless, I'm still feeling the hype. Let me know if you're excited to drop your own rankings for the teams in the comments as well. But once again, it has been so hard to rank these. This time there is either an S tier or a solid A tier player on each team, so putting a team with an S tier really low would be brutal, for example. But hey, that's just the way things are, and someone has to come last in the end. So on screen right now is my gut instinct as to where I think each team will finish in the event, but take this with a pinch of salt, as no doubt my opinions will keep changing up until the event itself. Well, I've been your host, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all around next time. Peace.